But still, they have chalked up over 100 achievements. We'll be looking at them, and over the coming weeks, we'll be verifying these claims to make sure that everything is on point. So that's a conversation in the next hour. For now, I just want to hand over to Queen B. Biswa, still in the Easter mood, aren't you, Biswa?
Well, a lot of verification, of course, in the coming days on this network, GH1 TV, in all the subsequent bulletins. But if you just joined us, we're live on GH1 TV and streaming live on Facebook as well around the world. We are on www.gh1tv.com, Ghana's biggest breakfast with your TV royals. My name is Beisawa Donna Hammond, your Queen Bee. Coming up now, GHToday News, the headlines. Opposition NDC describes first 100 days of the Akufo-Addo government as 100 days of insecurity. Non-payments of NHIA claims gradually crippling healthcare delivery at Kwo Government Hospital in the Eastern region. And on the international front, Donald Trump congratulates Turkish president on his victory in Sunday's referendum that gave him sweeping powers. The news now in detail. All right. In the first news, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's administration is more than 100 days old. And just like any other administration, there are debates over how good or bad the president has performed so far. Frankly, the government did not make any 100-day promises, but the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, says they have been able to record 103 remarkable achievements. Key among these achievements is raising the less than $6 billion foreign reserves to $8 billion.
The Akufo-Addo-led NPP administration in the run-up to the 2016 elections made many juicy promises which perhaps won the heart of the many who voted for the party. Even though Nana Addo's integrity and competence have never been in doubt for many, those values were not the solutions to the fragile economy he inherited. Nor was his command over the Queen's language and power of oratory the magic wand to provide jobs for the jobless and retrieve the judgment debt paid to Woyome, Waterville and others. The promise of job creation, one district, one factory, one village, one dam, tax cuts, among many others, were what inured majority of Ghanaians to vote for Nana Addo. Though the Akufo-Addo administration is only about 4 months into a 4-year term, there have been a number of hurdles it has had to grapple with. For one, President Akufo-Addo was heavily criticized when his final batch of ministerial nominations ballooned his government size to 110 ministers and their deputies. However, in his defense, President Akufo-Addo said the unprecedented problems confronting Ghana demanded a large government. The Akufo-Addo administration, upon assumption into office, fulfilled the campaign promises of cutting, abolition and reviewing a total of 15 taxes, including import levies on spare parts and Kayaye tolls. The allowances of trainee teachers and nurses were restored, and peacekeeping allowances for military personnel have been increased from $31 to $35 per day, even though the national service personnel have had the allowance increased.
Mr. Speaker, we shall abolish levies imposed on Kayaye by local authorities.
The government is also opening up the aviation sector, beginning with Air France, which recommenced work in Ghana after decades of shutting down its operations in the country. The government has also saved the country more than $300 million through the cancellation of about 20 power purchasing agreements entered into by the previous NDC government. And independent power producers have also been asked not to charge Ghanaians more than 10% kilowatts per hour. 7 cents lower than what they originally were charging. But all have not been rosy for President Akufo-Addo. The government has had to contend with lawless vigilante groups who, by virtue of association to the NPP, have with impunity seized toilets, toll booths, government offices and installation, and worst of all, broken out of jail fellow members who were standing trial for forcefully manhandling the president's appointee to the Ashanti Regional Security Council. Though the president has on some occasions asked the police to deal with these vigilante groups, Assin North MP Kennedy Ejapon has not made it easy with his provocative pronouncement.
I dare everybody in this country to try any of these boys, and you will see I will personally lead demonstration against MPP.
And so, despite the president's assurance that the rule of law will work in the country without fear or favor, some members of the public and even members of parliament were disappointed, insisting that the president must call the pro-NPP groups to order. The campaign against illegal mining also once again gained momentum, with civil society and the media teaming up with government to clamp down on the menace which is fast depleting our forest reserves, destroying our water bodies and raising costs of water treatment, and also destroying arable lands. The president also assured that he would lead the charge to eliminate the illegal practice amid a 3-week ultimatum by the Lands and Natural Resources Minister to cease all galamsey activities. Like they say, it is early days yet to fully assess the government, but like everyone else, GH1 News will be keenly monitoring to see how the government, led by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, will fulfill its marathon of promises.
Right, so it's been one achievement a day, that's according to the vice president, but as expected, there's been some mixed reactions to this claim. Indeed, the opposition National Democratic Congress has condemned the Akufo-Addo-led administration failing to ensure that the security of Ghanaians the last 100 days. Now, former Minister of Information Felix Ofosu-Kwakye insists the president and his team have failed to halt the lawlessness of his party foot soldiers since they took over from the NDC.
In all candor, 100 days is simply too short to do any meaningful analysis or assessment of any government's performance. So any such assessment would have to be tentative. I must indicate that the past 100 days under the Akufo-Addo government has been characterized by a lot of unsavory developments, and there's no way that you can discuss the government's performance in the last 100 days without looking at the tenuous security situation that we have. Truth be told, they do not appear to have a handle on the country's security, and that has resulted in a situation where thugs associated with the NPP have been let loose and engaged in a lot of disorderly conduct. It is obvious from the sheer brazen nature of these acts and the impunity with which these elements operate that there has to be some tacit support coming from the highest levels of government. Again, I'm not one of those who accepts the rhetoric that government is not to be blamed and these are just party supporters misbehaving. I believe sincerely that if the president or the government in general was really bent on nipping these unhealthy developments in the bud, they would have taken action. It does appear that these developments are a carryover from the general lawlessness that characterized the NPP's conduct in opposition. And there does not appear to be enough political will to put an end to this. Now, even if you were to overlook the government's inaction, there have been leading figures in the NPP who have sought to encourage the sort of behavior that these elements have put up. There have been members of parliament, top executives of the NPP, who have all but commended them for the actions that they've taken. Also, there is no willingness whatsoever to disband.
Well, some more reactions. An economist and senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School, Dr. John Gachi, has said the Akufo-Addo-led administration would have performed better if more clarity was given to fiscal policies. President Akufo-Addo took office with the promise of turning around the country's economic fortunes. But Dr. Gachi projects at this pace, the new administration will not be any different from previous ones.
Dr. John Gachi assessed the president on his policies and ability to put together his team. He praised the president for quickly assembling his team of ministers and agency heads, but decried the lack of clarity in fiscal policies laid out by the government so far.
When you look at the problems of this country, the fiscal management policy have been the problem for effective management of monetary policy. And it seems to me that there is a problem with clarity in terms of the fiscal policies. Fiscal policies basically trying to solve a huge deficit of around 9% of GDP, and at the same time drastic reduction in taxes and removal of some taxes.
Dr. Gachi was quick to add that it will be unfair to rank government's performance in the first 100 days since it never promised to fulfill all its promises by then. When asked of his predictions of what the next quarter of the year, he said this government is likely not to do anything different from what the previous government did.
People are right to criticize because from political economy point of view, the current government, when in opposition, indicated that they will not borrow. That borrowing is the easiest thing to, it's a lazy approach to managing the economy. And it's the same thing that they are doing. Therefore, they have not showcased the level of competence they actually promised the people of Ghana in terms of debt management. And they need to up the game in terms of debt management. They have not shown any different way of managing debt yet.
All right, well, so don't forget that you can get very much interactive with us here on 0288 500 600. Do you agree with Dr. Gachi that this government, like previous governments, all of them come from the same mother? Well, share with us and us as well. And when they come in, we'll read to the rest of the world. In other news, still on GH News today, quality healthcare delivery is being hampered at the Kwawu Government Hospital in the Eastern Region due to increasing financial and logistical challenges resulting from non-payment of NHIS claims. The situation has compelled management at the facility to shut down its gynecology unit, while the other units have had to work under very deprived conditions. Now, GH1 News' Ridwan Karim Dini Osman has been following and has more.
The Kwawu Government Hospital, 65 years since its establishment, provides quality health care to residents of Kwawu and its environs. But over the last 25 years, the facility has had to reel under immense pressure owing to logistical challenges. And this situation, hospital authorities say, is frustrating their efforts at reducing mortalities. The facility chokes under heavy financial burden because for more than a year now, the National Health Insurance Authority has failed to pay for services rendered to NHIS card holders. The hospital has had to buy most of their essential drugs on high purchase to run the NHIS program, a situation that has made managers indebted to many pharmaceutical companies.
As we speak now, the last reimbursement was for April 2016. So for almost a year, NHIS has not reimbursed us. And if you consider that they control about 90% of our clients, then you can see the extent of the problem. Okay.
Most vehicles at the Kwawu Government Hospital, especially the ambulance, have broken down, forcing hospital authorities to convert the only hearse at the facility into an ambulance for emergency cases. This means those hoping to convey dead bodies would have to resort to private or commercial means of transport. Medical Superintendent Dr. Akon Akoto Ampao explained that the only source of income is from the mortuary department, but that is woefully inadequate to sustain operations at the hospital.
The national ambulance was fully in operation, so they didn't see the need to have them because we had more than like 3 ambulances in the district and it was not operational. So then we thought that it could be used that direction as a haste to make it raise funds for the hospital.
The 28 capacity female ward hugely relies on a single old lavatory, which creates very big discomfort for both nurses and patients whenever there is a surge in cholera and diarrhea cases.
They go in tents, so maybe a patient goes there, she has to finish before another patient goes in. That's what we do. So we always tell them, if you tell us you are using the washroom, then we inform you that there's a patient there, so you would have to wait. But in the very severe cases, sometimes we allow them to go in their pails. Then we go and throw it away. That's what we do, because they all can't use the place at a time. It's only one.
Coupled with poor ventilation, most equipment at the surgical ward are obsolete, compelling health officials to improvise in giving care. Management have again for some months now closed down the gynecology unit due to broken down equipment and high operational costs. The hospital's laundry unit is also not functional because 1 out of 6 washing machines is in good shape, and even that consumes excessive electricity. Hospital management are therefore appealing to officials at the National Health Insurance Authority and government to immediately release funds and provide logistics to the facility to enable them carry out their duties effectively.
Well, so away from the Eastern region and here in Accra, the Obra Sports branch of the Ghana Road Transport Union is in a very deplorable state. The station, which was earmarked as part of the proposed lorry terminals to be given a facelift during the construction of the Kwame Nkrumah interchange,